at the residence of the royal father's son, Prince Eniola Oyeyode. Nigerian Tribune investigations revealed that the incident, which occurred around 8 p.m. on Saturday, threw the entire community into a state of mourning. Okay, you may read more of that story on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Next to the story underneath, that says governors can't fund state police. Uzodinma, amid a clamor for an amendment of the country's constitution to allow creation of state police to exist alongside the federal policing, Imo State Governor Senator Hope Uzodinma has dismissed it as a needless agitation. He spoke on Sunday night on the Channels TV live program Sunday Politics. Uzodinma said what is needed is effective collaboration between the state governors and the federal government-controlled security agencies to mitigate the scary security situation in the country. You may read more of that story on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Still on security, reps seek overhaul of security architecture to tackle oil theft revenue losses. The chairman of the House of Representatives Special Committee on Oil Theft Losses, Honorable Alhassan Adodoguwa, has called for an urgent comprehensive review and overhaul of the country's surveillance and security measures. Honorable Adodoguwa gave the charge in Abuja while addressing the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwabin Musa. You may read more of that story too on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Still on security, Southwest governors discussing with federal government on Amotekun carrying arms, Oyebanji, in a bid to combat the rising cases of insecurity in the Southwest states. The 6 governors in the region have commenced discussions with the federal government on the need for Amotekun to be allowed to carry sophisticated arms. The Ekiti State Governor, Biodun Oyebanji, will disclose this on Sunday during a media chat tagged Meet the Governor in Ado-Ekiti. The state capital said governors are of the view that the growing level of kidnappings, killings, and other heinous crimes in the region would be adequately tackled by the local security outfit with right arms. You may read more of that story. It's an interesting one on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Alright, this next one is coming from an aftermath of the Ibadan explosion. NSC geoscientists to submit reports on buildings' integrity, seismic measurements tomorrow. Reports of investigations by the Nigerian Society of Engineers and the Mining and Geosciences Society into the recent Bodija Ibadan explosion are due to be submitted to the Oyo State government on Tuesday, while the NSC will be presenting reports on the integrity tests conducted on structures around the epicenter and 500 meters from the epicenter. The team of geologists from the University of Ibadan will give analysis of the seismic measurements from the epicenter. Alright, you may read more of that story on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Okay. This is also on security. That says in security, Nigerians grown demand new strategies. Nigerians have expressed concern about the resurgence of insecurity in the country and called for new security strategies to restore peace and stability in areas affected by kidnapping, insurgency, and banditry. That's on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. You could pick a copy and read the remaining story. Okay, let me bring you this next story from page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. Oyo State maintains lead in ICT excellence. Following Oyo State's success at the 2022 General Meeting of the National Council on Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy held in Ibadan, Oyo State has once again reaffirmed its position as a trailblazer in information and communications technology. At the 11th General Meeting of NCCIDE, with the team leveraging on digital technology and innovation to drive Nigeria's economic growth and development, the state emerged top in all categories as Best State in Human Capital Development, Best State in E-Government, Best State in Digital Technology Infrastructure, and overall Best State in Digital Technology. You may read more of that interesting story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then let me also bring this to you. This is coming from the Nigerian Customs. Customs Controller General unveils strategies for meeting 2024 revenue target. The Nigerian Customs Service (NCS) has briefed the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission (RMAFC) on its various activities, procedures, and measures aimed at increasing revenue generation, fiscal efficiency, and blocking revenue leakages. The Controller General of Customs, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, during a presentation at RMAFC's office in Abuja, emphasized the need to build trust when collaborating with other government agencies to achieve objectives. Okay, you may read more of that story on Customs. CJ unveils strategies for meeting 2024 revenue target. That's on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then this is coming from page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Okay, before I go there, let me read this. Okay, this is from the Business and Economic Corner of the Nigerian Tribune. Nigeria Railways records 103% increase in revenue to 1.89 billion naira quarter 3 2023. Wow. Okay, that says in the third quarter of 2023, the Nigerian Railway Corporation collected around 1.895 billion in revenue from passenger and cargo transport. Wow, that's an interesting story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. I'm sure I'm one of those that contributed to that because I took railway a lot to Lagos. Okay, I'm bringing this next story to you from still on the Nigerian Tribune. Okay, let me bring this next story from page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. Southern elder CSOs condemn senators' outrage over 2024 budget relocation of CBN fan offices. The Southern Nigeria Elder Solidarity Forum and some civil society organizations have condemned the reactions of senators from the North to the 2024 budget and the planned relocation of some offices of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Federal Airport Authority from Abuja to Lagos. The 58 federal lawmakers under the aegis of the Northern Senators Forum had condemned President Bola Tinubu over alleged unfair treatment of the North in the 28.7 trillion 2024 national budget and approving the relocation of some departments of CBN and aviation agencies to Lagos. Okay, you may pick a copy of the Nigerian Tribune to read that. That's quite interesting story on page 8. Okay, there's a letter to the editor on the Nigerian Tribune. It's on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune. You may pick a copy and read it. It's the headline says need for pedestrian bridges along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting read, and especially because truly I think we need a pedestrian bridge on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to prevent accidents and unforeseen circumstances, and then maybe that will reduce the defecation on the median of the express too. Okay, Let me bring this next story from the business page of the Nigerian Tribune. FIRS rising to the. Oh, it's not a story, it's an article, I guess. I guess it's an article, not a story. Okay, bring in the next story from federal government from page 14 of the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government to conduct 360 billion naira bond auction today. The federal government of Nigeria, through the Debt Management Office, will be conducting a bond auction today. The indicated total amount on offer is 360 billion naira from 4 issues. The instruments include 4 reopening issues, 90 billion. These figures are too much. You may pick a copy of the Nigerian Tribune and read it yourself. It's on page 14 of the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government to conduct 360 billion naira bond auction today. Oh, okay. This page is particularly about billions. There's another one here. 8.6 billion naira paid to microfinance bank for construction of roads in 2023 queried. Okay, and you may pick a copy of the Nigerian, which might interest you, our dear listeners. Federal government gives 700 beneficiaries facilities under AES. The federal government, through the National Directorate of Employment under the Agricultural Enhancement Scheme, has provided facilities to 700 beneficiaries across the country. Under the scheme, the Rural Empowerment Promotion Department of the Directorate implemented the 2023 AES for the NDA trained youths in agricultural activities, including off-farm activities. You may read more of that relevant story from page 19 of the Nigerian Tribune. Where next am I going? Okay, let's pick the next story from the let's pick the next story from page 21 of the Nigerian Tribune, which says Smedan distributes startup kits to 440 SMEs across Nigeria. The Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, has empowered over 440 small businesses with startup equipment and training for economic growth of the country. Speaking at the weekend in Abuja at the Federal Capital Territory Distribution Center, Director General of SMEDAN, Mr. Charles O.D., said the empowerment was done under the National Business Skills Development Initiative of the agency. You may read more of that story on page 21 of the Nigerian Tribune. Okay, let's bring you this next story from far away River State. So we're in River State, where the governor says battle against his reign as governor not yet over. The headline says battle against my reign as governor not yet over. Fubara, as he holds Thanksgiving over Supreme Court victory. Governor of River State Siminalayi Fubara on Sunday held a church Thanksgiving service to celebrate his governorship election victory at the Supreme Court. The service was organized at St. Paul's Anglican Church, Okpobo Town, in Okpobo Nkoro local government area of the state. In a speech at the occasion, Fubara said the battles against his reign as governor had been fierce, but God, who rules in the affairs of men, has saddled him with the responsibility to steer the affairs of the state as its governor. Okay, it's an interesting read. You may pick a copy of the Nigerian Tribune, page 23, and read full details of that event. Bayelsa governor decries arming non-state actors during elections. Governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Doye Diri, has expressed concern over the arming of civilians by some politicians during elections in the country, with the intention of manipulating the electoral process. You may read more of that story. Recall that Bayelsa State just held its gubernatorial elections not quite long ago. So a copy of that, a copy of the Nigerian Tribune will do justice to that story. On page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune, Arapaja charges Southwest PDP to remain united. Deputy National Chairman South of the People's Democratic Party has charged members of the party from the Southwest to remain united and committed to the ideals of the party in their quest for a better and more equitable society. Arapaja stated this in his remark at the Southwest Zonal meeting of the party held at Government House, Agodi, Ibadan. You may read more of that story on page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune. Let's quickly go to Ondo State. Ondo State says Akeredolu anointed me as his successor. Akinterenwa, ex-Ondo Finance Commissioner, says. Wow. Okay. Erstwhile Commissioner of Finance in Ondo State, Mr. Wale Akinterenwa, at the weekend claimed his governorship aspiration received the blessing of the late governor Rotimi Akeredolu before he died in December 2023. Akinterenwa, who made the claim during an interview with television Continental News, said his former boss anointed him as a successor and prayed for him to be next governor of the state. You may read more of that story on page 22 on the politics news page of the Nigerian Tribune. Then this is also coming from the politics news page of the Nigerian Tribune. Pressure on Edo PDP leaders for reconciliation. There is pressure on chieftains of the ruling People's Democratic Party in Edo State to reach a consensus on its governorship candidate for the November election. The move is due to a cold war among some leaders of the party over the process that would lead to the eventual emergence of the standard bearer for the poll. You may read more of that story on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune. Alright, Aloore by-election, non-sensitive election materials moved to LGA's Lagos INEC. Ahead of Saturday's by-election in Aloore 1 Federal Constituency, the Independent National Electoral Commission in Lagos State on Sunday said non-sensitive materials for the poll had been moved to the local government areas to where the poll will hold. The seat of the constituency became vacant following the appointment of the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, as the Chief of Staff to the President. You may read more of that story on page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune. Then this is coming from page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune. How NAS has been violating the Constitution since 1999. And that's on page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune. Says failure of the two chambers of the National Assembly to inaugurate a joint finance committee as mandated by section 62 subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution has been described as a huge affront on the nation's ground norm. Oh, you may read more of that story. This has been on for 25 years. You may read more of that story on page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then this is coming from Ibadan Airport. Ibadan Airport runway incursion. Proliferation of illegal charter operations worry key players. The proliferation of illegal charter operations in the country's aviation sector is assuming a worrisome dimension following the two incidents of runway incursion at the Ladoke Akintola Airport, Ibadan, by two aircraft owners who turned their private jets into commercial enterprises. Most of the private jets allegedly owned by governors, lawmakers, politicians operating around the country before the latest incident have been accused of violating the National Civil Aviation Authority safety rules for operating illegally out of the air operator certificates issued by the NCAA to them. Okay, you may read more of that story on page 25. Ibadan Airport runway in caution. Proliferation of illegal charter operations worry key players. Most affected private jets traced to governors, lawmakers, politicians. That's on page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune. And so before I go, let me bring this next story. Police arrest 5 suspected armed robbers in Bauchi. That's on the Metro page of the Nigerian Tribune. And then Brazil returnee excretes 60 wraps of cocaine in custody. That's on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune. That's a Metro page of the Nigerian Tribune. And then abducted Aloore student regains freedom. That's on page 27 of the same newspaper. And then let me quickly jump to page 28 of the Nigerian Tribune. Ekiti government deploys software for project monitoring performance tracking. That's on page 28 of the Nigerian Tribune. As part of efforts to ensure that government projects are well executed, delivered on time, and ultimately be of value to the targeted beneficiaries, the Ekiti State government has approved the procurement of a software-based platform that helps project officers and executives manage the project's monitoring and performance tracking activities. All right. I think at this juncture we're gonna call it a day. There's so many stories on the Nigerian Tribune. You may pick a copy and on the sports page, Eagles on track for 2013 repeat. Omero game plan was to fight Lions. Pesiro. Okay, we're happy and we hope they'll beat the Angolans. Angola. Oh, yeah. Angola will be tougher. Pesiro wants Eagles. Well, we're sure they'll win. Alright, at this juncture, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget, you may join us on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. You could also subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Aloore Radio. Our website remains www.alooreradio.com, and you could also download our mobile app on the Google Play Store. Don't forget to call our studio line in case you have questions or you have inquiries. 0903-985-3731. My name is Olamide Adeniji. Do have a blessed day.
SafeMusicList.com